Look, we're good money. All right, yeah, look like we're good to go. All right, this is episode 228. I think that's right, 228
Yep.
of the First and
228.
Framerates podcast. Like it's myself, DJ81.
And damn, I did forget it was Taco Tuesday. Damn, I ain't getting any. I usually wait till Thursday for the tacos, though.
Taco Tuesday. Yeah, my wife made tacos, so yeah, that's what it is right now. It is Taco
It's like
Tuesday.
a double meaning anyway, so.
Right. Today we're just gonna keep it really simple. We're gonna do just one simple topic, and I think it's gonna cause a really good discussion. Basically, we're just gonna talk about should there be more? Does it have to be more than one sim game today? We're gonna talk about like more than one NFL game. Well, I ain't gonna say just game, but just a simulation game. One more than one NFL game, one more than one NBA, one MLB, one NHL. We're going to talk about that. So I want a lot of people's feedback. I know DJ's going to talk about this as well. I don't necessarily agree that it should just be one, but I'm just going to put some points out there just to make a few people think. And other than that, everything is, it's been pretty good throughout the weekend. Cannot complain. Did a few streams. The stream yesterday was pretty fun. The retro stream was really fun. Had a couple of laughs and all that good stuff. And other than that, like I said, just been playing games and chilling out. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Let people know what we're doing over here. Share this podcast. And more you share it, more people come over. The more people come over, the more people could talk shit about. That'd be great. Also, if you haven't checked out the VF Cast channel, go over there and check that out. All the links to that is down in the description. Check all that out. And we'll just get into the intro. DJ, how have you been? What's been going on with you, bro?
I just spent the last, let me see, I know overnight spent the last bunch of hours making sure to get my Twitch podcast up and running on Spotify, which I was able to do. So your boy's on Spotify now, and I'm also on SoundCloud. So that's pretty much what I was working on overnight for those that didn't see the tweets or whatnot. Other than that, just been playing games. I had a scare this past Sunday. It probably was maybe a lingering side effect from the vaccine during my game.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't finish the rest of that game. So just took it easy for Monday and today. I'm trying to get back at it tomorrow and see if I'm able to just play the full game come Sunday. But other than that, ready to go on this solo topic. So ready to discuss this one.
Yeah, I think this is gonna carry over for a good little while. It's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. That link down, not the link, but the banner down at the bottom, that doesn't just apply to the First and Framerates podcast. You can also use that for DJ's podcast as well. Go ahead and check him out. He is over on Spotify as of right now and SoundCloud. Hopefully he'll have the links over to iTunes and possibly Google as well. So hopefully all that'll play out. If you haven't already, go check out his podcast. It's also on Twitch as well.
I know, right? That's right. That's exactly it.
Yeah, you see my son, he's back.
Yeah, he knows. I'm on Spotify now. DJ's on Spotify. Let's go.
All right, let's see who's all in the chat so far. I see Sweet Jones. Good to see you. Javion, good to see you. Complimentary Sports said he had a day, but he made it. That's good.
Wait a minute. I'm just seeing this last post by Sweet Jones.
I was just about to get to you. You jumped out in front of me, but yeah, he said, my shawty got the COVID shot and my daughter tested positive. Man, oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Wow.
I don't know, man.
Well, they just halted the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so yeah.
I was telling my wife about that because she has the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at her job, and I was like, you might not want to take down because I heard a lot of things about it. But we'll see how that plays out going down the road. I think she's probably going to end up getting one from other places outside of her job that don't do the Johnson & Johnson. Cause I think they're pulling that one nationwide, I think.
Well, that was what I was saying. They put a pause on it for right now, and right. It's not. We're not the only country that's put a pause on Johnson & Johnson. So,
Johnson & Johnson on that bullshit. Anyway, let's get right into it. All right. Does it have to be more than one sim game today? Now, we've been dealing with this for years now, especially when it comes to football. And possibly, if you're looking at the situation with basketball, probably been looking at that for the entire time as well. When you look at NBA Live, at least since 2011.
Going crazy back there.
No, he's watching this nursery rhyme up here on my
But
TV. He loves these nursery. My
if
main thing is I wish he would jump up and down off the couch because I don't want him to
oh
fall.
no, I'm having childhood flashbacks of doing that same exact thing. You don't want him to jump off of
But give me
that.
that.
The wait.
Thank you.
Ooh, okay. Good catch.
Um,
Hey, what's
but
up, Antonio?
well, Antonio, was how you doing? Yeah, man, complete. I try to look out for y'all. Like I said, this podcast is basically for people who just want to talk about sports and sports gaming. My other podcast is about people who just want to talk about just basic games. Get down, son. And I just try to get away from it all because I know we have a lot going on with our we have a lot going on in the world, so this would be a good getaway, just for an hour and a half, just to fall back and think about other things. But let's get into it. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. MLB does have a game, but it's not. They have an extra game, but the RBI baseball is somewhat of a sim. I guess you can call that a simulation game. NHL don't have any competition. NBA, despite what we say about NBA Live, they don't necessarily have competition. And or not yet anyway. I think the NBA Live game is going to come out, and the NFL just don't have competition until 2K comes back. But when 2K comes back, there's already rumblings about that game being an arcade style game. So, do we need two simulation titles? Personally, I think we do, but I'm going to make a case to say that we don't. First and foremost, with these simulation titles, more than one. You have a situation where you get kind of oversaturated with the same type of game. I know there's different things where you can say some things will be different. You will want things to be different, have their own style and things on it. But I think at the end of the day, when you do try to have one nowadays, I'm not talking about like back in 2003 or whatever. I'm talking about like nowadays, I don't think there's going to be enough creativity out there to have there's not going to be enough creativity out there to have separation in these titles. Like you look at NBA Live, it's probably one of the closest ones we can see. Even with NBA Live, they're taking stuff, or VF is like taking, not VF, I'm looking at the shirt. I like the shirt VF. Good, thanks. 2K is taking stuff from Live, and Live is taking stuff from 2K where mechanically the game's almost pretty much the same. The passing mechanic, the dribbling mechanic, the shooting, all that stuff is basically the same. The only difference is the way the game runs. Now that's what I'm asking. Should we have more than one where it almost like most of these games are basically like being similar? DJ, before I go even further, I want your thoughts on that. Or do you think I'm tripping? Or how do you think what do you think about my point that I tried to make?
Okay, I don't think you're tripping. Because you look at people's attention spans these days, it really goes into maybe one or maybe two things at a time going on that people would ideally like to deal with. Most people, when it comes to like for example, anybody's listening to this podcast or just watching this podcast, they're probably on their phone and they're probably watching TV, and then that's it. They don't want anything else going on. So when we're talking about learning each game, if you had 3 games under the basketball umbrella that were sim, and each game had 3 separate core schemes, that's 3 separate core schemes that each person would probably not have time today versus what they would have in the yesteryear to really get fully immersed in these core schemes. Now I know for me, I present the other side where it's all, to me, it's going to be about competition and the fact that, you have 3 games in the basketball. I'm just using that as an example. Right now, there's only really 1 basketball game, but let's say we had 3 that were under the simulation genre, and each would push each other to try something new to outdo the other, which would excite the consumer base. So that would be the main reason why I would want to have multiple, or there should be multiple sim titles, because even though we are a small crowd, we definitely don't want to sit there and spend a whole year on one sim title, and if it doesn't work out, then we're either out making videos, we're on Twitter complaining about said game.
Right, I do understand that as far as competition. I'm 100% with you on that. And like I said, I don't want anybody to think that I'm necessarily against it. I just wanted to just make the notion, does it have to be? Because like now, you look at games now, those games don't even, the regular games that are out now they don't even let them have any type of creative freedom anyway. They basically try to play it safe and try to play with what works. I think that's, now I hope Scott OG is not under this under the situation if they're making a basketball game. 2K has a pedigree of what actually works, and what they've done is, I've seen Live do this at least since Live 18, where they will take some of the mechanics from 2K and will just put it in their game, like the alley-oop dunk, you double tap the triangle or Y, the bounce pass, circle, the flashy pass, same thing, double tap the circle button or the B button. It's basically that type of mechanic to where even with some of the mechanics when you were like shooting or dunking is the same way. At least when back then when you did have competition, there were like totally different games. I mean, legitimately totally different games. Mm-hmm. My only concern is if there was one, would we be able to have that type of freedom, or will they be able to have that type of freedom to differentiate from whatever is in the sport? Because even when you do have that freedom, the actual companies or the leagues themselves don't want you to put certain things in their game to actually, be different. They want it to be a certain way to, quote unquote, make the league look a certain way. And, that's one of the reasons why Madden, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, it's one of the reasons why Madden is not as creative as it is now, because the NFL tells them, hey, we want you to put this, and this in the game and take this, and this out. Where I've always been an advocate for unlicensed game because you can do more, like it's same with APF has it's mild, but they have mild cursing in the game that actually happens in football. So but there's no way EA Sports will ever put that in the Madden game, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things, like if 2K had the license along with EA Sports, we'll probably have the same situation where the creativity will not necessarily be as wide as it used to be. And I think that's one of the issues that I would have. I also think that it shouldn't have more than one sim game, because I think 2 games nowadays, now back then this wasn't an issue, but 2 games now there'll be some form of oversaturation. Some people don't have the attention span to have more than one game in their arsenal or in their collection. 2 NFL games or 2 NBA games. You have some people literally say they do not want to play NBA Live because they have 2K. Even though there are some things in NBA Live, I ain't gonna say mechanically, but the way the game runs is actually different from 2K. But it's they feel like they got everything they need in 2K, and I don't agree with it, because even though the license is the license, if it's a different game, I'm going to play it. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that's one of the things I wish would happen if there was competition. But you just have people that just have short attention spans. They can't play more than one game anyway, especially sports gamers. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, with the attention span, I've heard people, as far as, and this goes outside of the sports gaming genre, is that when it comes to the control schemes, it's just going from one control scheme to another. That's why some people, they want to play just one game at a time. Like literally, I've heard several people in the gaming community talk about, oh, I'm just playing this game right now, because remember, in that said gaming community, they talk about how many games did you beat this year. Well, if a person's just focusing on one game at a time, then they're taking their time to learn the control, learn the game, learn the meta, and do all that stuff. And they're not going to, mix that up, and not going to convolute it with another game, because when they get back to the game that they're trying to focus on, all of a sudden they're thrown off kilter about how to play the game again. So in sports games, with the way the controls have become deeper, as far as like talking about dribbling mechanics, play calling, how you and we're not talking about like basic stuff like navigating through the menus and stuff like that. We talk about pure gameplay mechanics and fundamental differences. Like you look at Live, even though they just recently adopted the shot button or the shot stick in some ways.
Right.
Before, the main difference between live and 2K was that you used the square or whatever it was on the hold up. Yep, square or X to shoot on live
Right.
versus on 2K, you could use that same button, but you primarily were using the shot stick. That's why they called it the shot stick. So live recently adopted that, and even that doesn't work the same. So if you're constantly playing 2K, not only are you getting used to that main control feature, you're also getting used to the meta of that game. So when you go over to live, you got to play it a totally different way. You can't just play it like, and in some ways, some people may feel like they feel better playing live because of the way it plays, but may not like the control scheme.
But you got to
So,
think about it. Also, back in the PS2 days, I mean, live used to shoot with the circle button. You
well,
know, so
yeah, all of them did. There was no
right,
shot stick back then.
right. So I mean, it was like a lot of muscle memory. Now, people like you and I and others who are here, because most people who are here have been playing games for a while. You know, most of us have that muscle memory to remember. If we're playing this game, we're going to do this. If we're playing that game, we're going to do that.
Mhm.
I don't think the younger gamers or people who just started gaming like mid, I'll say late original Xbox, early PS3, Xbox 360. I don't think they have the muscle memory to do it. I just don't. I mean, muscle memory comes from like at least when you've been playing probably from the Super Nintendo era. I'll even say give you one better, probably the PlayStation 1 era. Now I think this because a lot of games back then was so diverse and different. I mean, not just sports title. I'm just talking about games in general. That was so diverse and different. You can play one RPG to be like this, and the mechanics would be like this in the second RPG, or a fighting game would be different from one to the next. Now it's like so many games kind of have like that same type of mechanics, or as far as button mechanics, it's very hard for somebody to jump from one game to the next, and then they have to do it all over again. So, I think that was one thing where a lot of people saying, like you were saying earlier, a lot of people just did not like pressing a button to shoot because they couldn't remember. A lot of people are used to the shot stick now. It's and I think that once again that goes back to what I'm saying. Live didn't have that at one point, but
Mhm.
they moved over to it, and it goes back to what I'm saying about taking each other ideas where the game basically feels like they're running the same. So,
Well, the
it's
one
just
thing, just to add context to that, now these days these companies are sharing developers. So
that too.
you'll get a Scott OG who you can tell a control scheme that was in live found its way into 2K the
Right,
moment he was out and in front and working at 2K. You're probably
right,
going to see the same thing now that he's back with EA. If he's doing live, and I keep saying if
right.
because it's
If
not confirmed, we're not
yeah,
going to put him in that
you
box
never
or
said, you
anything.
never said, so
Right. So when he goes back and let's say he is doing live, again, just speaking in hypotheticals here, and I could see a control scheme coming back to live or a certain, let's say, play call mechanic making its way back to live
right.
because it probably was one of the stuff that he did. That he's just bringing his touch, which was on 2K, just bringing it back to live potentially. So,
Right. I'm gonna get into a couple of these comments because a couple of them are actually interesting. I don't know if Sweet Jones is still here. Prayers up to his lady. She did take the
mhm.
shot and still tested positive for COVID. So hopefully everything is there. He didn't respond to when I put it in the chat. So hopefully he's still here. So I want to let everybody know. Keep him and his lady in their prayers, in our prayers, and hopefully everything will be okay. Javion said, "I wish NBA Live had roster share for Live 19. It would be really good." Because I played Live 19 recently, and the game it still has this problem, but it plays a pretty good game of basketball. I'm actually still impressed with the very little that they had and what they've done. Because I posted a clip on what happened on a transition, but it is actually a pretty decent game. It's not Live 16 or Live 14. I just put it that way.
Well, and
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I'll go ahead with live. The way the players move is more natural, and you don't feel like they're just like you have like a Kevin Durant in 2K can take long strides and still feel like he's running in place. Versus if he
Right.
were to take those same long strides in live, he would cover a lot of ground. That's the thing that I don't understand why 2K can't figure that out, because that's why I'm sitting there constantly messing with the slide. Oh, that's another thing with gamers is working with sliders. If you get into it, as far as like being immersed in the game, these different games have different sliders. They work differently, even though they say the same thing. So that's another thing about sim games that you have to worry
Right.
about. But yeah,
Right, because you like I said, they do so much. They like one slider for one game will do something totally different for the other game, and it could be the same type of slider for that particular situation. Speed could be very different if you change the speed slider on one game and do it for the next.
mm-hmm.
Like rebounding or dribbling, ball tangibility, all that stuff could be totally different. Javion also asked, he said, I wonder if they're coming out with another Maximum football game. I'm going to get to that.
Ooh.
I'm going to get to that because that actually ties into what we're talking about. So we're going to get to that definitely. TJR, good to see you. He said, I wish that in the old NCAA hoops games there were different buttons for a pull-up jumper or a driving shot. That's how it used to be in NBA Live. NBA, like the circle button was the pull-up jumper, the driving shot was the square button. And I think at one point in NBA Live, there were 3 buttons. One was for a jumper, the circle, not the circle, but the square was for layup, and the triangle was actually for dunks at one point.
See, that's why the shot stick is so intuitive, because that's what you do now. And you can do it in a direction. You can have a strong, like for layups, you can have a strong tape by holding up on the analog stick, on the right analog stick. Whether you want to do it left-handed or right-handed, you can kind of deviate it to the left or the right.
Yeah, make it like at an angle or whatever, right?
And that, I think for 2K, they kind of made it where, okay, you can still dictate which hand to use when you dunk. So that's another level. But also another level is that if you have the ball on the right hand side and you hold the right analog, it'll do like that carrying animation. But go ahead.
No, I'm about to say, did you know that NBA Live 19 does the same thing now? They had that in 2K since 19 or 20?
Mm-hmm.
No, they had it in 18. They had it back a few years before Live 19. I know that. And Live 19 put it in their game. Like, if you go up and left, they'll do a left-handed layup. Or up and right, they do a right-handed layup. But that's how it was in 2K. I would want to say at least since 2K17. And they put it in Live 19. Mm-hmm. It just goes back to what I was saying from my original point. It's like, there's no... And I don't want to say this a knock on any depth, because like I said, I'm a big fan of Scott O'Gallagher. I've been watching him do stuff before he even knew he was doing games. I mean, he was a big fan of the Madden breakdowns. That's how long I've known him to be around. He was a big fan of the Madden breakdowns back then. So he has an eye for this type of stuff, and I just hope that his creativity can be flushed out in whatever that he does at EA Sports. Casey says, personally, I like the game having different control schemes. I think FIFA and PES, I haven't added those 2 games in. Tried FIFA controls and PES, but it didn't feel right. Went back to the OG controls. See, that just goes back to, I'm saying that games should have their own identity. You would want a game to have their own personal identity, but I think this was one of the downfalls of NBA Live, and then to some degree, to some degree, I don't know if anybody want to really hear this. 2K was kind of doing that as well with their football game, because if you really look at 2K5 or even 2K8, the hit stick, they put that in the game. I think the only thing that was really different was the passing.
Oh yeah, it's a huge difference.
I think the passing was different in 2K from Madden. I mean, there was no question about that. Stiff arm was pretty much the same. It took 2K years to get the juke move right, because 2K juke move at one point, and I'm going to tell you how bad, how long ago I've been playing 2K games. Where's the controller? I'm going to show this to you right now.
Are you going to show the Dreamcast controller?
You know me so well.
But it's really simple. We're both like old ass gamers, so I figured, and you got all the games in the background, so I kind of figured you was gonna pull out the Dreamcast controller with the little memory thing in it.
Here it is right here. Let me tell you how you used to do this when you was juking in a game. see these two things up here? You literally had to hold both of these down at the same time to do a juke. That's how bad it was in NFL 2K at one time. They finally got it right in 2K4, I want to think. Now, mind you, that was 4 games in the making until they finally got the juke right. Mm-hmm. You know, because even with, I think, I want to say 2K3, but I could be wrong. But it was at one point, you literally had to hold down both buttons to do one big animation for a juke. It was horrible. But they finally got it right. So like 2K5, you do the juke the right way, the stiff arm was the right way. But they took those mechanics from Madden. And I mean, and I'm not on blame them for that because Madden on the PS2 was damn near flawless. I'm not even gonna lie. The only thing Madden was really missing in the 2K days was real double team pass blocking. Everything else that was in the game was there. So okay.
I was going to say, as far as like the identities of both games, it seemed to me that 2K was more user control friendly with the main thing with breaking tackles. Remember how Madden would conduct the breaking tackles by an animation. Right. Like before they switched the core engine and everything of the game, juke moves you used to be able to do, there would be no animation popping up. And then all of a sudden it became animation based. Whereas 2K, if you want to break out a tackle, you just tap that button, that little power up button to keep moving, kind of simulate the guy keep moving his legs. Now Madden kind of did something of that nature with the truck stick. If you ever get caught in like a stand up animation, like somebody holding you up, you can kind of drive them. They kind of went away from that.
Yeah, you had to hit the truck stick a second time once you got wrapped up to them. Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. So,
one thing I did on the PS2 Maddens and NCAAs, what they did was to break the tackles. Because with 2K, you just basically had to tap the button once you get grabbed, and that's how you break the tackles. But in Madden, what they wanted you to do was hold down the acceleration button. What they call it turbo, I don't call it. It's you can hold down acceleration, and the run faster, and that's how you break tackles if you had enough speed, which kind of makes sense. But at the end of the day, it was still animation based. It wasn't like where if you tap the button fast enough in 2K, you could break a tackle, which kind of, like I said, I felt like that made a little more sense than what it was.
Here's another thing, and just thinking back to the main point of the discussion about having more than one simulation. They're like kids playing outside, and it's like nighttime. I don't get that.
You must not have to go to school.
Well, I had the window open, so
got you.
But the other thing, and I kind of touched on it by just looking over to my Xbox controller, is that you have all these simulation games, but you also have people who will either have just the one console where they're used to the configuration of, for Xbox, the XABY, right. And then for the PlayStation, it was square, X, circle, triangle.
Right.
So even that, if you think
you think it's bad, go to Nintendo and see what the hell they're doing. Literally Nintendo's ABXY. Right. And on Nintendo was BAXY. I mean YX. It's totally backwards.
So here's the thing. It's just like what NFL players experience when they learn a new system. It could be the same plays that they're used to running, but they're named differently. When you go from one controller to another with a different setup, there's a slight hesitation. Even though okay, I'm supposed to press this, but since it's square and not X, I'm like, wait, am I supposed to press the button? And then even the confusion is that the X button is the A button, but you see the X button now on the left side. So it's just like, wait, hold up.
Yeah, you tell somebody on PlayStation to press the X button when they're holding the Xbox controller, they're going to continuously press A because A and X is in the same spot.
Now, and the reason why I bring that up, it goes to the whole short attention span, and also the being able to dexterity to be able to understand you're pressing this to do this from one game for another. So if you have multiple simulation football games or basketball games, you got those layers to think about when you're going from game to game, from console to console, from controller to controller. Some people, most people now don't have time to do all to learn all
Man,
that and
I'm
retain
I'm
all that.
I'm gonna tell you this. I just recently got a Series S, so I have another control another console here.
Mm-hmm.
I that makes console number 20, and that I have, and I have problems with that sometimes when I be playing games because I forget. Sometimes I forget from playing NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
I get a problem with that when I play a Sega Genesis. Then I turn right back around and I play my Xbox. So I turn around and play PS4, and then I go right back and try to play my GameCube. Now that is hard. Trying to learn to remember the mechanics on a GameCube controller after you've played like all these other traditional controllers.
Mm-hmm.
That's difficult. But I mean, I kind of got used to it now. But I have like at least the first 5 minutes of a game where I'm just don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, and just to add the last layer to this, because I just thought about this. This is one more layer, and this is coming on the developer side. Every year they change the control schemes to these games. Either if it's like a minute adjustment or if it's a major adjustment. Madden
Two,
made that one change, and it was just like, what the fuck? Why'd you change this? So it's like players,
right.
we want something that's consistently the same between these games as far as the control scheme. There's stuff that we can't control, but there's stuff that the developers should think about as far as the consumers between these games. It's like, okay, let's just make virtually stuff the same, but each game, like you was pointing out, the identities of each game
Have to be different.
right.
They have to be different. And my fear is if there was the same, like say if NFL 2K could have made a full on simulation game,
Mm-hmm.
I do have a worry that a lot of stuff from each game will be taken from each other to the point where it's almost the same. NFL 2K5 presentation was so cool, people appreciate them for it. That's why they don't realize with game nowadays, all presentations are recycled every year now. I won't say the presentations are recycled, but sometimes the actual games are. And that's where he goes to say it feels like the same game every year. In most cases, yes. I mean, even with Madden, some cases 2K definitely with oh goodness, what I'm about to say. I can't remember the other game I wanted to say. Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Best sports game of all time: NCAA 14, NCAA 2K8. Ooh, and I don't know about that one.
Talking about the college hoops.
Yeah, College Hoops 2K8. I don't know if they're the best ones of all time because, I mean, NCAA football 06 was good, 08 was good.
I think you got a hater.
I'll tell. Hey, all here. I'm gonna put this up. All he has to do is go back and look at my video about me buying it. There's a reason why I bought that. But that's another story for another day.
You know what's sad? Because he probably bought the S himself, and it's just BSing.
Yeah, he bought something. Jadavion Dillingham, he said, I grew up with the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation. You're a baby. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It's just, I will say this: you missed probably the best football game in generation. You probably missed the best football generation. Football game in general. The PlayStation 2 original Xbox GameCube generation, you had some really good football games. You had different football games, and the games actually felt like they played like football. Like you look at the Maddens from the PS2, the 2K football, NFL Fever, Game Day. I don't think Nintendo had their own football game, but you know what I mean. I had a lot of variety. Yeah, KC Classic says it right here.
Wait. Nintendo, I believe, did have their own. It's an older one, but it at least made it to Super Nintendo, and that was Play Action Football.
Yeah, I remember Play Action Football and Super Play Action Football. I do remember that they had their own game. Super Play Action Football was actually pretty unique. I kind of liked that game. It was pretty unique.
That one had a diagonal view.
It had a diagonal view.
Diagonal overhead view.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I might need to go back and buy that game again. The problem is it's so easy to get the number one in college, though. Matter of fact, Super Play Action Football, they had high school, college, and NFL in that game. A lot of people don't know that. High school football and NFL. Yep. And the field was different if you played at different venues. Like, if you played a high school game, you knew the difference between each one. Yeah, Javion said that's what my uncle said. He missed out a lot. Yeah, you missed out on some great football. If you know, I mean,
Oh,
you just missed out on one generation away. You missed it because the generation prior to the 360 and PS3. I mean, football gaming. Man, you came in at the time when football game was just went downhill. It really sucks. It really sucks. Let's see. Casey Class say, I really hate that. I'm not a fan of a constant control scheme. I don't have a problem with it long as it works. I don't have a problem with it. My main thing is that the control scheme is one way. If it's not broke, don't fix it. My
yeah,
main thing is just continue to pick up on the development and the creativity of the game.
yeah. Because a lot like the thing with Madden that I did not like was when you only have there's two main things I hated about the setup of Madden. This whole faster to fun BS. I didn't like that because I'm like, I can read a defense. I can kind of tell what the offense is about to do. But there's audibles that I'm gonna have to like speed around to because they're already at the line. I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't hurry up NFL football. This is like walk up to the line or press A to get them to run to the line. Like
It's one of my gripes about in Madden 21 right now is just that there's no suspense in running a play. Like there's something people don't realize. It's something about walking up to the line and looking at the defense as you do it. It's something about that. But if every play just seems like no huddle, it's just like, yeah.
and then
Okay.
I'm about to say, and then the other thing was the fact that to control which section of the defense you could audible, the control scheme changed on that, so they can compensate for the whole superstar X Factor thing. Like,
Yep.
like the diagrams on the field aren't enough to let people know that this is an X Factor player. You need to watch out. Like, you don't need a goddamn take up a whole analog stick just to give it only two functions, up and down, just to view who's. I'm like, that's a wasted concept.
The one thing I will say, the pre-snap controls for Madden was really good before they put all that together. I did not have a problem with it. Even with the defensive audibles, sometimes you get caught into a point where you are doing an all-out blitz because you're trying to do the old school mechanics. It's really bad on how they done it now. But hopefully, once again, like KC Classic said, make him customizable. Give us an option. Don't pigeonhole us into one area that we have to use this on this type of way.
AVF, read preliminary sport word for word.
I'm not doing that. I'll just put it out there. He said, I remember renting the Mutant League football from Blockbuster. I'll say that. Not, I don't know what that is. Or what.
Nah,
I'm gonna tell you something.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You definitely avoided.
Yeah. That's one game on the Genesis that I've been looking for a long time, and I have not been able to pick it up. Mutant League Football is a damn good game. I know they did they did something like a remake or they redid the game. They reimagined the game. It's nothing like the original one. The one because that one was made by EA Sports. It's basically it's somewhat like a reskin of Madden from like Madden 94 or something like that. But it actually has like
company.
Yeah, it's made by the same people. That's what I'm saying. It's like a reskin, and it's basically like it kind of gives it a old school. I guess it gives it an old school NFL Blitz vibe of Madden. I would say that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "What the hell he spelled?"
No.
Jones stupid. He said, "Blockobuster." Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hey. I was about to do that a second time. Never mind. Whoa. Hey, I dodged the bullet right there, boy. I was just about to.
Who dodged the bullet and almost walked into that same bullet?
Hey. Yo.
Oh,
Ooh.
what had the boomerang effect? You like missed it the first time, and then you almost caught it on the.
I almost caught it on the rebound. So I was like, because I was so quick to try to say it again, right? I was like, wait, hold up, there's a K right there. Let me stop.
Man, that's a VFL live.
Yeah, I gotta take that because
even though you didn't say
no.
The
thing was, DJ,
the second time around, yeah.
No, all was well and good if I would have just kept it, if I would have left it alone. So I'll take my L for that one.
What's the term saying? You're doing too much.
Way too much. Way too much. Javion said Blockbuster was an OG store. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all, if you grew up in the 80s, or I can say 80s, if you grew up in the 90s, you went to Blockbuster at least once. If you didn't, something's wrong.
I was an assistant manager at Blockbuster, so I was deep in it.
Right. Hey, wait a minute. You was deep in what?
Blockbuster.
Oh, about this.
No, BX. That's the second L for the night.
No, I ain't taking the L for that. No, I'm not taking one for that one. Nope, not taking that one. No, I tried to get you on that.
No, that's the second L for tonight.
Optimus Goop said it right. It's an emergent killer. You did it. You're right. Absolutely.
Right. So let's say it again.
No, I'm not saying nothing.
No. Hey, chat. Everybody say it with me. You're doing too much.
Hey man, what's going on, Dre? Good to see you. Hey, once again, I'm gonna say this every time I come through, or every time he comes through. Hey, if you guys haven't already, go check out his podcast. I will try to put that link in the description so you guys can check it out. Pretty good podcast he got going on over there. I highly recommend it if you haven't already. And I'm gonna put this link in here. And if you guys don't check it out, I don't know what you're doing. You guys are messing up. So go check out his podcast right now. Oh, he changed. Did you change the name of this?
What? Who changed what name?
I want to know. Did he change? Was it always called the High Ground Podcast? Because I thought it was the CTG podcast.
Well, there was one name that I thought they should have went with, and that was on the first episode because y'all were just like starting it up, and I thought y'all were gonna go with that.
Okay, so he did say they changed it. Okay, it's called a High Ground Podcast. Go check that out. It's over there on Spotify. I think the link should pop up on the in the chat. So if you guys don't, go check that out like ASAP and go ahead and give that guy a follow or whatever.
And we're gonna give Preliminary the L as well.
Wait a minute, what are you doing?
Look what he just.
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing, bro? Preliminary. What's up with the end of the check, bro? Is you trying to tell us something? Check KKK? What are we doing?
Well, now BF, you just got another L.
No, I'm not getting an L for that. I got a question.
Third L
no, I'm not. I'm not getting an L for that. I got a legitimate question. What's up with this?
You Subliminary Sports are even because just that one thing alone, he got 3 L's.
No. What are we doing? Yeah, we're supposed to be brothers. You're right. You putting us out there like that.
Nah, you got caught on a boomerang earlier. That's not my fault.
No, I ain't getting an L for this one. I'm asking a question about the KKK. I got a question about that. What's up with that?
If this podcast if this episode gets blacklisted because you said it, then you taking that L. But for now, we'll hold off on that last L. But preliminary, that's 3 L's.
Let's jump into the MLB when we're talking about more than one sim game. You got, I'm going to be honest, you got a few of them out here. MLB The Show, you got RBI Baseball. And somebody told me that Super Mega Baseball is somewhat of a sim. I haven't played Super Mega Baseball, but people are telling me I need to buy that game and stream it.
I'm going to tell you right now, point blank, it's arcade, but some of the sim principles are crazy.
Right, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are saying that.
What's the term I came up with the other day? Arcade-ulation?
Yeah. Arcade-ulation?
That's basically what it is. Because I was able to do everything I needed to do that I would do on MLB The Show in that game, and it worked. So, yeah, there we go.
And shout out to Young Noble. Young Noble, he was telling me about it when I was streaming yesterday. He was telling me that he bought it for his Nintendo Switch, and he really likes the game. He recommends it to me. And I was thinking about it a while back because... I forgot his name on Twitter. He's a community manager for Operation Sports, but he was telling me about the game was actually pretty good as well. So I'm sitting here like maybe I need to go ahead and pick that game up because a lot of people say Super Mega Baseball is actually pretty good. So I'm going to ask you, do we already have more than one sim game in MLB space? What do you think, DJ?
We just have one. It's just
just
one
have one?
game. It's just
No,
MLB
no,
to
no,
show
no
right now.
RBI baseball. No RBI baseball.
No, it's not. RBI is trying to get into it, but they're not there. I'm like, and the reviews actually came out on the last one, and yeah, that was a miss.
That the reviews of that game, he always end up getting like 5 or below, and I'm always trying to say like I want to buy the game because truth be told, the game don't look bad at all. If you look at the trailer, you look at the gameplay, the game visually do not look bad.
Yeah.
But when the game starts moving, you be like,
Yeah,
all right, I see why people, I see why people give this a 5 and a 4. You know,
no. Tell me why people were picking up the ball before it actually touched them. Like they were pick. I'm like,
well, that's a mechanic problem, engine problem. They need to fix that.
I'm just like, we were complaining about balls going through the bat. At least the ball's touching the bat. I'm like,
right.
Good grief.
Not good. I mean, but like all seriousness, the game RBI. I mean, the game has been looking good at least since 15. Mm-hmm. The game don't look bad at all. I mean, I'll be the first to say if this game was actually selling itself on screenshots, they'll probably fool a lot of people because the game looks really good. But and I think Bills, shout out Bills, he bought, I think it was the last one, RBI 19. I think he bought it, and I think he ended up getting a refund or something because of it was so bad. And I was like, thanks for telling me. I'm glad I'm not buying it now. But do they need another game? Especially with the game moving over to Xbox now, do MLB needs another simulation game?
Yes. They want to make more money. They're okay. Because we just seen EA jump back into the golf game and PGA talk about they want to expose more people to the sport. I think this is MLB's chance to do the same thing. Yeah, they're exposing more to a wider base console-wise, but I think they also need to have different representations of their games. I'm like, let the artists create the income for your sport. So they can, because they'll give their own interpretation. And there are people that are looking at MLB The Show. They're like, I don't like that version of MLB baseball. I liked what I saw with 2K. I like what I saw with EA. I would like for those to come back.
A lot of people like the EA version of baseball. MVP baseball, people still love that game to this day, so I understand it. 2K baseball, even though it had some bugs, I still felt that it had one of the best mechanics in the game when as far as pitching, and some of their animations were actually pretty good. I just think once Kush Sports left the development to that's what their name was, Kush Sports.
I know.
Once they left the making their games, it just went downhill because MLB 2K8 is really good. Hell, NHL, they did NHL 2K and their games was pretty good. Wherever they are, maybe they're defunct now, maybe they went out of business, but that was a really good development dev company. It did really good.
It would definitely be a good cannabis company name.
I know, right? Hey, you might not be surprised. Somebody probably picked up the name. You never know. Mm-hmm. But so with MLB The Show, they're basically running away with it in the simulation space, and I think they do need competition. But what if I can't even be an advocate to differentiate from this because when MLB had competition, those games were they were really different.
Oh yeah,
2K was different from the show, and MVP was its own game in itself. All 3 games were totally different, and they gave you a different experience. So I think I'm with you on that. I think that's wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Ma'am, where have you been? Good to see you. Cute Ladybug is in the house. Hey, if you guys haven't already, I don't know if she's still making content. Go over there to Twitch and subscribe. You can subscribe or follow her on Twitch. She used to make some pretty good live streams over there. Go check her out. Good to see you around because DJ, we asked about her not too long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, matter of fact, I was talking with her yesterday we were playing No Man's Sky, so we were playing the expedition mode, which I was telling her, I was just like, yeah, this is a huge the expedition mode expansion that came out for No Man's Sky. It's like over like a glorified tutorial, but you get to play with people. You're like randomly generated, and you're automatically put on a server with a whole bunch of people, and you're basically doing the same stuff you would do solo, except you're doing it with other people, including cute Miss Ladybug, which and it was fun. It was nice to like talk with her again, and yeah, it like she just said, it's been a while. So
Yes, most definitely. It has been a while. Good to see. Good to see you around and everything is still good. It's good to see. Good to see. But like I said with the MLB, I think thank you. I think we can come to an agreement on that. That's one game that could use more than one game because you would think with the MLB it'd be very easy to copy and paste, but we've seen it over the years where every game we're not even talking about just MVP. You can talk about Inside Drive that was on XSN. You could talk about World Series Baseball that was out for the Sega. For Sega, all their games was like High Heat Baseball, All Star Baseball. All these games were like completely different from one another. I think the only thing that started to get similar was when I think EA, when they did MVP Baseball, the college version, they took the pitching mechanic from MLB to show. But if you think about that, we're talking about 6 different baseball games, and only one company took one thing from another company. That's actually incredible when you think about that in sports in general. Because even way back in the day, you saw similarities in different games, even back from the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo days. So I think baseball has done a very good job of keeping it diverse as far as how the games are ran.
now, if they had that game that is right now just region locked to Japan, they had that game available.
Oh, wow.
Then we're talking about serious competition because they're already in existence, and even though you can play it over here, you have to jump through hula hoops.
Yeah, you got to do one or two things. You got to get a Japanese PSN card and buy it on the Japanese store, or you have to just import it from Japan, which would take you about 2 weeks. And I want to do that because I did that for the PS3 version, and I kind of feel bad I don't have that game anymore. Somebody wanted it, and they gave me a good bit of money for it, so I couldn't refuse it. But if people talk shit about Konami, if Konami actually made an MLB game with that mechanic, with that type of game, MLB The Show will be in trouble. I'm not saying they'll be in trouble like they'll be falling by the wayside and there'll be no more. They will have real competition up against each other because they play based on Japanese rules, but that game mechanically is very, very good, and it lines up with MLB The Show very well. So that would be good to see. That would be really, really good to see.
Yeah, because another thing it also introduces when you have these multiple sim games is that you'll get not just because a lot of the sports games are made by American developers. Well, unless you get into soccer and whatnot, but
right.
If you get the NFL made by a UK developer, and we're seeing what they're trying to produce as far as the boxing game, and we've seen another game that I've seen a whole bunch of games that they've done in general. The game I'm playing, Scum, with the Unreal Engine 5. Just think if they were, remember somebody, we will not mention his name on this podcast. People in the chat may do this, but remember the first visuals of that game on Unreal Engine for a football game?
Oh, Lord.
We were like, oh, imagine if we had a UK developer that had his eye on making a football game, an NFL football game, or it wouldn't be an NFL, let's say a customizable, unlicensed
football game. Right.
But those developers seem like they are focused on quality more than quantity. So I feel like that if they were allowed to make a football game, even make an NFL football game, yeah, there will probably be more pressure for quantity because the NFL wants to make money. But I feel like those developers will be able to make that game better than EA or 2K.
Yeah, but this is my thing. If you bring the quality, the quantity will come. If you just put a quality product out there, you're gonna have people coming to you wanting to put their assets or whatever in the game. And I think that's the part that people don't look at anymore. Like, case in point, you look at EA Sports now with the golf game. They think that the fact that they get the exclusive license to all these majors, they think that it's okay. Hey, if you put out a quality product, you're going to get that regardless. Same thing with 2K. If they put out a quality golf game, hell, if both of them are good, you have a situation where, and I don't know how it goes behind the scenes, but I would think that if both games are good, the people that are behind the PGA would be like, hey, we want our name on both of their guys' product because it's that good. That's the mentality I would have. That's just not in gaming. That's just in anything that you do. If the product is good enough, people are going to want to come to you to put their name or stamp their name on what you got going on. But it's kind of backwards now where, hey, we don't care about the product. We're just going to see, hey, we're going to try to make money for you because you're the only one that's going to have, we're the only ones that's going to have this in our game. So if this is how we're going to make money for you, not necessarily because we have a good product. That's one thing I don't like about, I'm not going to do that to him, DJ. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave Complimentary alone. But that's one of the reasons why I don't like about exclusivity, because when you do that, it takes away from the actual creativity and or just the expansion of, like you said, the quality of a product. That's one thing I don't like about it.
Right.
Javion, he asked questions outside of this topic. He said, "Did anyone know where I can get my Xbox 360 to get modded?" Google it. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know where you live, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody close by that would do it. I know here in South Carolina, I know people do it here, and they do PS3s as well. I'm pretty sure wherever you live, I know somebody will do it within the next 50 to 100 miles from you. If you feel like you are, you trust them, look at their work, look at what they're capable of doing, see if you can get other people to vouch for them before you send any product off to them, because you never know, you may not even get your console back in general. So you might want to be mindful of that.
Right.
Let's jump over from the MLB, and this is your wheelhouse right here. Let's talk about the NHL. NHL has not had competition since 2K11. It's been 10 years. NHL, I feel like, don't necessarily need competition because it is a really good product. But I would like to see another company, preferably 2K, to come back and make another hockey game. I'm going to let you take the reins on this because I do play hockey games, but you know about this way more than I do.
Okay, so I feel like they do need competition because there have been a lot of things that they've been sleeping on and have been slipping in regards to like right now. I feel like they're doing well as far as their online modes. Not all of them, because there's still an outcry to get the connected GM mode back in the game. But gameplay wise, it's definitely.
Go ahead and keep talking. I'll be right back.
Gotcha. It's like one of the best playing EA NHL hockey games in Lord knows how long. But the problem comes when you look at NHL 2K, you look at NHL when they used to make games and what they put in their game. They put more emphasis on strategy. The core gameplay was more centered around possession, not like end-to-end hockey like you see it in NHL. And right now at NHL, the end-to-end hockey, that's more like a casual thing, a more arcadey type thing to keep people playing the game. They programmed the game really just based on the fact that you're only going to be playing the game for like 5-10 minutes per period. So they program it where it's like, okay, get to one end of the ice as quick as you can, versus when 2K did it, you had to play the strengths and weaknesses of your team. I'm like, both are sim games, but I feel like fans are hungry for a game that's more deeper as far as the gameplay, the strategy. They could stand to see who can do the online modes better, who can provide better overall experience. And not just really with 2K. I want to see another, like Sony used to make a hockey game. I think they had a hockey game. Um, I definitely would like to see. I don't know if Microsoft exclusively did a hockey game on their X. What is it? XSN was the or
Yeah, they did NHL Rivals. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like me personally. I think there is a hunger for competition in the NHL umbrella because we look at we look at the NHL series and it's like, okay, you've been the same way overall with some key additions, but your core gameplay has been the same for damn near a decade. We need either a new way you play a EA hockey game or somebody else needs to jump in, and the license is not exclusive. So somebody's making enough money where they can come in, and it should help that NHL is now being picked back up by ESPN. So now, when there were multiple hockey games, ESPN was the main sports channel that was showing off those games. So I definitely hope that there's more competition there.
Yeah, it would be good to see. I mean, I'm a big fan of the NHL series. I have NHL 21. I also have NHL 18, and I really like the series. And you already know I'm a real big fan of NHL 14. But it would be nice to see another game to come out. I have no problem with it. You already spoke everything why they need competition. I like I said, I'm still a noob at the hockey side, so I don't really know. But more games the better. From that, my main thing when I did this topic, it was mostly because of NFL and NBA. The other two, I didn't even think about it, especially with the MLB. Like that's probably like the most diverse simulation game that's ever been put out. To be honest, I mean, in NHL, even when NHL had competition back then, even when they had competition back then, those games was fairly similar. You know what I mean? I'm not fairly. I'm sorry, they're fairly different. NHL 2K actually had their differences, especially with a lot of trick shots because there was like little button presses that you had to do, and compared to NHL was more like a smooth transition with the shot stick and the L and R buttons. It was pretty different.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you just popped it up. So we're gonna say happy birthday to Mama Pooh.
Yeah, I was just about to put that up now.
So happy birthday, Mama Pooh. Hopefully your day is well. Hopefully your health is high, and the fact that your son is here, hopefully he's taking good care of you.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. You always gotta take care of your mom. I finally talked to my mom again today because she jumped on me about me not calling her enough. I called her the other day. She claimed she was busy. All of a sudden, I'm like, well, you outed me on Twitter to call you, and when I did call you, you were busy. So I called her today. I kind of like FaceTimed her today, and she was like so happy to see me, and she saw my son, and she was like so happy to always look out for your moms, especially if they're still here, and if they're and you have a. If your mom's not here, send our condolences to you and your family because you only get one, so you have to cherish every moment if possible. I put DJ podcast link in the chat as well if you guys want to go over there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, if you can't listen to that live, you could definitely listen to him on Spotify and on SoundCloud. He said he's on SoundCloud as well, so you guys go check that out.
And I'm gonna say one thing to Pooh. Do not turn on the Washington Capitals and Philadelphia Flyers game. The Flyers are getting their ass whooped. It is 6-1 as we speak right now. So don't watch that game. We've been scoring a lot of goals as of late. So
I see that. Y'all just running through them right now. So so how do you really feel about the future of possibly having more than one game? And, I did a video about this, about competition is coming, even though with the exclusives out there. I think we talked about this on another podcast, but just talk about this in general. You now have, I guess we could talk about this one first, the NCAA football game. You have that coming out. Javion asked earlier about Maximum Football. So do you feel like they should come out with another game? Do you think they're coming out with another game? And what are your expectations for the college game if both of these, quote unquote, may bump heads?
Now, here's the thing: Maximum is not strictly doing a college game. Remember,
That
they
no, that is
have
true.
the other rules, and right now they're in a bit of a bind because XFL and CFL are looking at each other like, "Hey, we're about to do business. Let's see what we got going on. See where we can share ideas and stuff like that." Even though Maximum Football is not a licensed game, they're not beholden to any of those three and can go ahead and make a college football based game with the CFL rules. Well, I'm gonna say Canadian because that's how it's listed. Canadian. They don't say CFL because it's unlicensed.
Right.
Um, and American, which would probably be the XFL. They even have like the practice mode, which is Spring Football League. So at least
Right.
that's the
Right.
only thing that really is. But with competition coming from EA, and EA part of their college game is going to be unlicensed as well. Well, most of the teams we've already highlighted have pulled out of the game until
Yeah, I
they.
was about to say that the legislation need to come fast because if they don't, we're probably gonna be looking at a unlicensed college game.
Well, Maryland just signed theirs, so I
They're
think
in or out.
I think. Well, I can't confirm. I know Governor Hogan just signed like 60. He signed like a hell of a lot of bills today. He signed 66 bills in the law today, and one of them is the Jordan McNair Fair Play Fair Act
Right.
that would enable collegiate players to be paid. And I think it was mainly based on sponsorships and stuff like that. But I probably they have to go a little bit more into the as far as video game licensing and stuff like that. But that was the step that they took that was taken today, at least here in the state of Maryland. So,
Okay.
but Maximum Football, um, I don't think because they're not making the game. It's automatic that they want to make money so they can have money income to support the next game that they're going to make.
Right.
But I feel like none of this should stand in their way of making the next iteration of Maximum Football. I feel like they should just go ahead and do it. There's a case where if you get licensing as you go along, then if you have the time and the resources to make these additions after launch. I know this is kind of like, oh, but this works into the patch culture, but sometimes timing works that way. So I would say go ahead and do it if that's what you find works for that company, whether you're looking at profit or whether they're looking like, hey, we just want to release the game for the fans. And then if you're able to get these licenses and stuff clears up, you can start kind of rolling in certain teams and whatnot, just see how it goes. And then each game after that, the next game after that could be fully licensed. It just depends.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be bumping heads. I mean, some people try to say that because it was a college game, and most people try to play that game as a college game. But
Mm-hmm.
what should happen with the Maximum, I think they should come out with another game, and hopefully by I'll say 2023, I think they should just go ahead and talk to the Canadian Football League and probably talk to the XFL and just go ahead and make one of those whatever their conglomerate is together. Just go ahead and make that game. I think they kind of have the inside track because they have like the Canadian football teams already. Didn't they have them already?
No, they just have them by city name, but not like
Okay,
the team, not like an officially
the
licensed
official
team.
teams. Okay,
That's why when they list the rules and stuff like that, they say Canadian instead of CFL.
CFL. Okay, I got it. But I think they should try to go that route and possibly
They've
try to.
been they've been trying to go that route.
Yeah, I think.
It
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
hasn't worked out
Hopefully,
yet.
yeah. But if it does, I think they should just go on a way to see what they do as a if they merge and possibly make an. I would want to think that they will make an XFL. I think they'll take more of the XFL rules and do that and make a game out of that, and it'd be its own entity without all the trying to bump heads with the NFL. So as far as competition, I don't think that should be the case. I just think that I don't think that there's a situation where it's I lost train of thought that quick. I was looking at something on my phone. And I don't think it should be a situation where they should just have competition against one another. I think it should just be they do their own thing and just try to carve their own lane in the sports gaming world.
Well, here's where they can start. I already have a title for the game: XFL versus CFL. If and that's if an XFL CFL do separate conferences, that would be a perfect title. They could that football
Yeah.
could go with if they want to get away from the college game and make it about those two conferences in their own league. So that would be my idea, my pitch to them if I were on their marketing team, and that let's say that coordination between the two leagues happened, it would be XFL versus CFL. Let's go.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that would actually be interesting because I don't know what kind of league that would be, but you kind of
Right.
got a situation where, like you said, both leagues would be its own division, like one division versus the other, and that would be pretty neat. That would be pretty
You
neat.
know, the funny thing about that is that it would kind of be like baseball. Like baseball kind of returned to traditional means this year. The National League doesn't have there's no universal DH this year for the season. So National League is no DH and American League is DH to the chagrin of some other people. But I can see different rules for each conference, or they could just merge. Like I think the goal is to merge everything so everything's consistent, which would make sense in a football versus like baseball.
Yeah, that does make sense. If the but it would be interesting to see how that plays out as far as those two companies merging together because I think what the XFL is supposed to come back next year, something like that.
Originally, it was supposed to be the end of this year, but when they entered exploratory negotiations with the CFL, they pushed it back to next year.
Okay, so I don't know about video game wise, but I think they still have time to see if they're going to merge the two by next year. You may see both companies play football against each other next year. You just never know. Especially like how things fell apart with the COVID situation or whatever. It'd be interesting to
Mhm.
see.
Right.
What about let's see. Uh, do you see the competition flourishing in the NBA? We'll do this and we'll jump to the NFL. We'll probably wrap it up. The NBA with NBA Live coming, supposed to be, well, hopefully coming, depends on what Scott OG is doing at EA.
Mhm.
How do you see that playing out? I mean, because 2K21, for all intents and purposes, next generation, a lot of people are having their gripes about the game, but it looks like it's a fantastic game of basketball. I still haven't downloaded it for my Series S, but I haven't have any doubt that they're going to continue to go on a skyward on your upward trend when it comes to that game. What do you think about the competition between those two?
Well, I wish it was a healthy competition between the two. It's very toxic and abusive in a way because I felt like with the team that was doing live up until they they delayed it, canceled it, whatever you want to call it, put it on hold, abortioned it, whatever. Um, I felt like they just lost their focus.
Right.
And if you're in the middle of a fight, the last thing you want to do is lose your focus. The person is right in front of you, get ready to hit you with a right cross, and you're just gonna look somewhere else while that punch is coming. So I need that team to be focused and ready to go day one to make this a good competition, a heated rivalry type competition. Like if somebody delivers a knockout blow, somebody's going to the hospital type of rivalry between these two, especially with Scott OG potentially, allegedly heading NBA Live versus Mike Wayne. Even though it'd be friendly between them two, it's the one people below him. But anyway, allegedly. So it's one of those things where it will push 2K to finally, get to where they're at core gameplay wise, which they kind of have already started with going to next gen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like NBA Live is in a good position going to next gen with the way their core gameplay is. Obviously, with that year off and now was it like 2 years off now? Because 19 came out in
19 came out in
18.
2018, so
So
it's been
that's
3
3 years.
years. It's been 3 years as of right now.
So they basically taken the route of UFC, and I feel like they take the gameplay, the core gameplay that they have right now, and then allegedly, potentially, Scott OG comes in and sets the tone early. They can get this game up and running first game out on next gen. And the one thing I would hope they would do, because you're talking about that transitional year with next gen, that 2 to 3 year that they kept talking about while they get this stuff straight, I would say make live a next gen only product. So you can.
Oh no! That should be a given at this point.
At this point, you're all in, and your focus is to make this game, instead of it being like a step in the right direction, as we keep hearing that term from Madden, and I get tired of hearing that term. Make it more like it's viable day one, because you put all your focus, you put all your tools, and you work with the best possible engine or potential for either console, and just left it at that. Don't make this game and make it lesser components of it, which will hold it back. We're kind of seeing that, excuse me, as far as other games. And honestly, a lot of people didn't like this cross-gen 2K.
No, a lot of people didn't like. A lot of people was kind of mad about the Madden one as well. So I don't think Live 22, Live 23 that shouldn't touch the PS4, the Xbox One at all. I'm with you on that. Should not touch it at all. It should be a next gen exclusive, and they should just they should just go from there. I'm 100% with you on that.
Don't look back. Don't look back, because like I'm sound like a broken record. You look back, you're gonna trip over something. It's just like a scary movie. Jason's chasing you. You don't want to look back, because if you do, he may not be there, but then all of a sudden he'll just transport right in front of you and choke the shit out of you. So don't look back.
All right, but let's transition one more time over to the NFL. We already talking about 2K possibly going to be having a arcade style or like a NFL game with the players or whatever the case may be. How do you think that's going to bolt over against Madden? Because I will say this, I have been playing Madden on a Series S, so I have played the updated version from, the next gen version of Madden. And I will say the movement in that game is not, I don't think it's as much what people say it is. It's not that big deal. The thing that stands out in the next gen version, or the PlayStation 5 Xbox Series version of Madden, is the animations. There are more animations in the game that make the game look much more smoother, and the transition to tackling is much better. The running, I don't see where everybody's saying the running is much different. I don't see it. It basically still feels the same as far as running, but you notice like when you actually get a tackle, one-on-one animations, break tackles, some throwing motions when they're getting hit. The collision in the game is a much smoother than it was the last generation. So that's something really easy to build off of. So
question.
Oh, go ahead.
So you don't notice the game being slowed down a bit?
No. Not at all. Personally, I do not feel it. I do not feel. The only thing I feel is like the main thing with this version of Madden. I feel that they have added more animations to the game that I felt that it should have been. The game still feels like it could have been done on a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Okay. But what I'm seeing is there are more animations that like. It just seemed like the game just added more animations. I'm going to be doing more videos, and I did a video about it early on this channel about the one-on-one interaction at the line with the defensive lineman and the offensive lineman. Something I haven't seen in the previous Madden. But that's just what I'm saying. It's like you see more animations, you see different interactions, you see extra stuff that makes you think like, okay, this looks like it's a new game. But I'm still of the mindset thinking like this could have been done on the Pro or the Xbox One X because we said this before. The full potential of those consoles have not been touched. We know, like where the generation goes, around the last year, or I'll say year 5 or year 6 of that console, you really get to see the power of that console. Developers get used to the console, they're used to working with it by then, and you get games like The Last of Us, or you get games like GTA 5, or you get all these other games that are like fleshed out for that particular console. Unfortunately, I don't think the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro is going to get that treatment because it was a mid-generation refresh. So, but with that being said, I'm gonna be honest. Unless 2K do something really, really good with their game and knock it out the park, 2K is going to be behind what Madden is doing because this current gen on Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PS5, it does a pretty good job of mechanically putting the game together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's a great game, but it just seems like they're going to have ways to go to catch up because I don't know what 2K has done since 2007.
I
So
feel like with this whole squabble over the legality of what simulation is in this
right,
whole thing, I feel like 2K is going to take this time to basically practice making a simulation game. It's not going to be a simulation game, but they're going to probably just say, okay, this is what we're going to focus on. Yeah, this is going to be like an over the top football game, but we're going to work on, let's say, just running animations. Ain't nobody say they can't make a real running animation. That's
true.
not against legal matters. Oh, let's work on pass trajectories. Just nothing says we can't have actual physics dictate the pass trajectories. They can take a couple of those. Physics hitting. Nothing says we can make physics hitting realistic and over the top at the same time.
Right.
But the core of it is that you're working on stuff that eventually, when they figure out this whole petty BS with simulation being the gatekeeping mechanic in the legal matters, they solve that. Then all of a sudden 2K is in position to be like, all right, we already got physics hitting. We already got pass trajectories down. We already got the run animations. We already got interactions going. Now we can tone those interactions down to make it realistic.
I wonder if they're going to try to make a game similar to. You made a really good point, but I wonder if they're going to make a game similar to Super Mega Baseball without the
that route right there.
Yeah, without the cartooniness of it. I wonder if they're going to do that.
No, I would want them to have the cartooniness of it. And actually, for the character models, there's actually an account on IG with the NFL the miniature players. Have you even seen those?
God, yeah, I know you're talking
those
about. Okay.
Are perfect models that you can use. Those are perfect. I'm like, kids will love seeing these things. You can make them. You make them like they are, like that account does.
Right.
That would be perfect. 2K needs to be looking at somebody at 2K needs to be looking at that IG account and be like, yeah, we can use those player models. Let's see what they got.
Okay, that's interesting because that's kind of what I was always thinking when they said they was gonna make an arcade style game, and I looked at Super Mega Baseball and I always saw like you said that it had the sim qualities, but it was kind of an arcade style game. And I know when Young Noble was telling me about it, I was like, yo, I can see them doing that, and that's all. Like, if they do that, I'm 100% in. Because Preliminary Sports said 2K may slip in some sim features.
Yeah,
I totally agree that they will do that. I will see why not. So
they can layer like the main thing that separates sim and arcade is how over the top you can make certain interactions. If you tone down hits, then it becomes more simulation than it is arcade. If all of a sudden you hit somebody and let's say they fly like 20 feet in the air and they flash, that's an arcade style look, but you
Right.
still are using physics. You're just pushing you're like adjusting, and this is under the hood. You're like adjusting the physics to be over the top. But
Kind of like similar like NBA Jam, but only 2-on-2 without the high jumping.
here's the thing. NHL right now, you can literally go in there and adjust.
What? You
The,
know what? You know what's another game that's like that? Nobody
what's
talks
that?
about. NBA Street is like that.
Yeah.
NBA Street is an arcade game, but it has a lot of simulation features. A lot.
And everybody wants that game.
Yeah,
They want that game to come back.
You know, that is a perfect analogy of what 2K football may need to be. NBA Street, people talk because their dunks not even that over the top. They jump high a little bit.
Well, look at NFL Street. That you
Well,
want
yeah.
direct football
There you go.
relations. NFL
There you go.
Street.
There you go. It's nothing like way over the top, but you could tell it's an arcade game. Yeah, 100%. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, and then I was making a point about like currently in NHL, you can adjust the stumble and fall thing to be more realistic. Like if it's at 100, I think that is the most realistic part, and you can tell the difference when you are operating the players. They are like their full weight at 100. It's their full weight in physics. But if you like tone that slider down, they feel light and they can like feel like they flighty and stuff like that. So the interactions in this upcoming 2K game are going to be just over the top, but I feel like at the core there's going to be basic simulation fundamentals at the core.
Right. No, I think that's something that'll be really cool because at some point it won't be any denying that it's going to be something that people will find a balance between the two and they'll play it, and I think they will enjoy it. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I think that's what people really want. I don't think people want a full on sim, but they want it to be simulation enough where they feel like they're actually having a real experience based on the principles of the sport without it being too janky or too jokey or too over the top. And I think a lot of people will be okay with that. I mean, just like we were talking about with not MLB the show, but we are talking about with NBA Street or even with Super Mega Baseball. They know that they're not full on sims, but people are eating that game up and loving it. And I think that's somewhere along that lines, I think people will actually appreciate the game and support it. Anything else you got before we go? Because I think we covered all four as of right now. I didn't talk about golf because golf competition is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk about NHL because they have we already know how the NHL situation is, and the other three that we were talking about, I was kind of son.
Oh boy, because I heard all the stuff go everywhere, and I was
he's stacking up my cartridges.
That's what I was hearing.
Yeah, he's stacking them up, and they fell, and he's having a break now. You can stack them back up, sir. Okay, all right.
He was pulling a Bianca Belair.
Yeah,
when she hit a 450 splash during WrestleMania, and what's her name kicked out, and she had a almost a mental conniption about it. But the thing was, because somebody had put this out there, like this is great storytelling because her character a character in a previous pay-per-view had the same thing happen, and she totally lost her focus and lost the match. So this time, well, everyone knows she won. She's now I think the Raw Women's Champion now. But she didn't lose her composure when that happened this time. She kind of lost it for a second, but then at that same moment, she was like, wait a minute, this happened before. Don't panic. You're good. Stay on target. And she wound up winning. But just to say overall, because I know the original topic was, can there be more than one simulation game on the market? I think at the end of the day, people just want options to find the game they can become immersed in. Because, like I said, my whole thing was I noticed that there are gamers that don't like going from game to game because they don't want to have to keep changing controls and stuff like that. But they want options to be able to like, okay, I can play this game and get immersed in it because they have more stuff in it that I like than the other company did with their game. So as long as you have options, as long as consumers, I'm like, it's a win at the end of the day when you have options.
Right, right. Now, I think, I put this up just to get people's opinion about it, but I'm 100% with it too. I think you should have options as well when it comes to just having more than one game. But I'll just try to make a case that should we have more than one because of the creativity side and people attention span of playing actually more than one type of game. Just kind of curious about that. So,
Right.
we'll just see about that. So,
So
all right.
your son right now is currently pushing an option. That
Yeah, he's just throwing the games around. He's all right. He's just throwing around. He's good. I just don't want to make sure you hurt yourself.
Right.
But I don't have anything else, man. You want to do your outro before we go?
All right. So tomorrow night on the simulcast. So those that want to find me on Twitch is EVO325. What the fuck just happened? Episode 23, I believe. Yeah, episode 23. I already got 3 topics on deck, so this will be the first time I'll be able to announce all 3. I'll be talking about State of Decay 2. They're actually doing an open beta. Even though the game's been out for quite some time, but they're doing something that I think is quite intriguing. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow. Be talking about movies and television. As far as like, doesn't matter who makes the movie, that gets you to either go to the movie theaters or, watch their film or whatever. So that's a question. And then I'll be talking about the Dante Wright shooting. I'm gonna pair it up with the other incident that happened in Virginia. And that's what we'll talk about. So tomorrow at 8 p.m., episode 23 of What the Fuck Just Happened, we'll go live both on Twitch and YouTube. So check me out there. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, DJ81. And this was a very good topic. Well-rounded as far as coming from you, myself, the chat, seeing a guest appearance from Cute Miss Ladybug, and Kablimine suffering a whole bunch of L's. So, he was a good sport. You was a good sport for your L's. But, this is going to be the L Olympics by the time this episode is done. But
He's so stupid.
It was a good night. And by the way, Pooh, if you're still listening, final score 6-1 Caps. Let's go. And Kablimine, I did see that you said that the Nats were tied with the St. Louis Cardinals. I know they won last night, the Nationals. So I'm gonna tune into that game as we speak.
Right. As far as me go, I have a video coming up on the VF Cast channel. You go check that out. Let me see. I don't think I have a banner for that, but I do have the VF Cast channel. That link is down in the description. Go check out that video, and on that video, go check out that channel, and on that channel I have other videos. Also, I do the VF Cast. Also, I changed it now. It's Sunday at 10 o'clock. The Saturday night, it's just not going to cut it for me because I'm mostly doing things with the family, so that's not going to be the case. I'm not doing anything on this channel tomorrow. I may, but I doubt it. So I will be looking into all of that, and we'll see where we go from there. Other than that, everything's good. I appreciate everybody who came through. Good discussion, a lot of good feedback. Saw some faces I haven't seen in a while. What's going on? What's that? Raiders. I think I just saw. Where did he go? Raiders 75-28. Good to see you here. He said that we'll never have options as long as you don't speak up. Speaking up is not the thing. We just need to support what we got. We could talk all we want. We've been talking for 16
more than
years.
A decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and 2K has not made a football game yet. So I think it's more about money than us just speaking. But I do understand where you're coming from. Cute Miss Ladybug, good to see you. Dave, 10 Eagle, Optimus Goob, Complementary Sports, Antonio Wilson, Spec Pooh, Javion Dillingham, who else? Dre, good to see you. Sweet Jones, I think that was it. And KC Classic, TJR, good to see all you guys. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to go put my son to bed because I know he is ready to go to bed. And I will see you guys next time. We'll be back Thursday. You guys take it easy. You guys be safe. Prayers to everyone who was affected by COVID and all other wellness. I mean, all other sicknesses. Hope you guys be well. All right, y'all. Peace.
All right, peace out.